Hello and welcome. This video will serve as an introduction to the reasons why faculty writing groups help you progress through your research and scholarship. I am Andrea Verdan in the Department of Chemistry and the Center for Faculty Development. And joining me in this introduction is David Green in International Studies, who is also the director of the Center for Faculty Development.
Hello everybody. Andrea and I will be taking turns in walking you through this short video, and we also want to let you know that faculty writing groups are a joint endeavour by the Centre for Faculty Development and our fabulous colleagues in the Office of Sponsored Projects.
We want to first clarify what we mean by writing. We may automatically think of writing associated with a manuscript for a journal article or a draft of a book chapter, but we want to broaden our definition of writing and use the following conceptualization: that writing is whatever is involved from the inception of your idea to the completion of your final product. These final products include grant proposals, poster presentations, even innovative coursework, curriculum and program development, and even those disciplinary articles, monographs, book chapters, or textbooks. You can find many other examples of these written products on our faculty writing group webpage. So why do faculty find it challenging to write? There are numerous reasons, which we'll mention here, some of which you may relate to. First, we don't often learn to write with regularity and moderation. Perhaps we're more accustomed to binge writing. If you recall, when working on your PhDs and writing your dissertations, our writing goals were probably defined by completing 10,000 words by Monday, for example. We may also feel that writing is complex and it's really hard to get into, so there's this lack of momentum when it comes to writing. Another big challenge is that writing is more easily put off than our teaching. Our teaching often has instant gratification. And we also have other responsibilities as faculty, like service, that we don't want to ignore at the risk of letting our colleagues down. So often writing is put to the side, and that writing associated with our scholarship, it goes without accountability. Connected with that lack of accountability is that writing is often associated with working in isolation. We may feel a lack of encouragement and motivation. Now, this can also depend on our disciplinary norms. So even if co-authorship is common in our discipline or our field, some co-authors may not be supportive, and we can still feel alone and isolated while doing our scholarship. Another reason that makes writing a struggle is perfectionism. Many of us academics are perfectionists, and we may want to wait until the final product is fully ready. We're scared of producing an ugly draft. And the final reason we were going to mention is that faculty state they have too little time for writing. In a survey conducted by the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, 44% of faculty agreed or strongly agreed with the following statement: "I hardly ever get time to give a piece of work the attention it deserves."
So how about you? At this point, we invite you to think about your own scholarship to date and to do a 1-minute self-audit on the extent to which each of those items have stymied your own productivity. So to do that, we invite you to pause this video and go to the survey we've set up, either using the QR code on the screen, you can use that with your mobile phone, or by typing in the short URL that's shown there. You'll then get some immediate on-screen feedback from us that will help you gauge whether faculty writing groups might be a good fit for you. After that, you can then come back to this video to learn more from the research on writing groups and alternative structures to support scholarship.
Now, all of these struggles that we just mentioned, they can be minimized by joining a writing group. A writing group can provide the regularity and the structure you need to get your writing started, and your group members will be accountable to one another. You'll give each other encouragement and feedback so that you can power through all those writing roadblocks. Your writing group can also help you establish reality checks, and with them, you'll define achievable goals to make progress that's meaningful on all of your imperfect drafts. And regarding that last point on too little time, we're going to need to reframe that a little bit. We'll do this by looking at the research on research productivity.
Now, our primary source for the research is Robert Boyce and his study from all the way back in 1989. This is the model we've been using since we started launching faculty writing groups in 2007. It's clearly not the only model that's out there or the only approach, and we're aware as well that Boyce's research method was a little curious, shall we say. Even so, what we have found encouraging is that this model has been adopted by NCFDD, that's the National Centre for Faculty Development and Diversity, and they've been using it for over 10 years and have found it to work with many faculty in many different academic contexts. We also think it's especially helpful for faculty with a heavier teaching load or with more service commitments that you might find at other more research-focused institutions. Now, in Boyce's reporting, he uses pages written or revised in a year as his measure of productivity. And we just want to gently remind you that pages might not be the right measure for you or for your scholarship. So you might need to do a little bit of translation to your own context as you hear about the findings from Boyce. Now to the study itself. So all the participants in Boyce's study attended a workshop that he ran on research productivity, and they all agreed that he could follow up with them to find out how they progressed in their research over the course of a year. Now, the first group decided not to make any changes at all, and they continued to binge write, as in Boyce's words. So waiting until there are breaks in the academic calendar to produce as much research as possible while doing little to nothing during the times when they were teaching. And on average, those faculty members wrote or revised just 17 pages in the year after attending the workshop. So it doesn't sound all that much, right? Now, the second group agreed to make two small changes to their research habits. First, they agreed to write for at least 15 minutes a day on work days. So we're not talking about weekends or holidays or vacation, but minimum of 15 minutes a day. They also agreed to keep a record of the amount of time they spent on their research each day. And over the course of a year, those faculty members wrote, on average, 64 pages. So to put that in context, that's almost 4 times the amount that the binge writers wrote. So if you think back to that feeling of having too little time for research that comes up as one of the barriers for faculty, then Boyce's study is already suggesting it might be possible to rethink how we use that time. And if you're wondering what a record looks like, then here's how I track my daily writing. I just use an Excel document, and I've got the date, the day, the number of hours. So you'll see there that the lowest is 0.25, that's quarter of an hour. Sometimes that's all I could manage. And on other days it was higher. And then I have a column for how many days in a row that makes. I just like to see the tally go up because it feels good. And at the time of recording, it's day 760. And then what projects am I working on each day? Helen Sword, who's another author who looks at writing, recommends keeping track of how long each project takes. The idea being that when people ask you to do things in the future, whether it's a book review or a presentation or a co-authored article or a keynote, who knows, you're in a better position to know, do I actually have the time to complete this work by whatever deadline? So you might want to do that as well. Okay, so now we're back to Boyce. So you've seen those first two groups, the binge writers and those who agreed to write for 15 minutes a day and to keep a record. There's also a third group who agreed, yes, they would write for at least 15 minutes a day, and yes, they would keep a record. But they also added the component of holding themselves accountable to others, and this is the format that we use for the faculty writing groups. Now, the average number of pages that those folks wrote or revised in a year was 157. That's more than 9 times more pages than the faculty who continue to binge write. So just think about that for a moment. You're agreeing to write for just 15 minutes a day at the least, so hopefully you can do more, but you don't have to do more than that. You're keeping a record somewhere, and you're meeting up occasionally with colleagues to be accountable in some kind of way. That's an astonishing figure to be over 9 times higher than those who only write in long blocks of dedicated time. And it's for that reason that we think that faculty writing groups are a good idea generally. Now, before we get into that though, I just want to share one other piece of research that's looking at alternative models that you can use to support your scholarship and how effective those might be. So Boyce's findings are pretty convincing, but what about different kinds of approaches that you might take? Now, we have here McGrail, Rickard, and Jones's study of it's a meta-analysis of 17 different studies on writing productivity. 15 of those are from the US, one from Canada, one from the UK. The measure that they're using is the number of publications per year, and they're presenting it as ranges. So the first group of faculty did work with a writing coach, so very time intensive, very expensive, and you can see what that range is, 0.4 to 0.9 of a publication. So not even a full publication out the door for those faculty. The next group are people who took writing courses. So again, they're labor intensive. They involved a lot of commitment on your part as a participant, and are usually expensive. The range there was from 0.2 to 1.1 publications. So again, not a lot to show for a big investment, probably financial and temporal. The third group is writing groups, people who joined a writing group. And here we've got between 0.25 and 4.4 publications in a year. So we hope that by seeing Boyce's study and the factors that he found made a big difference, plus this meta-analysis that shows these different formats that you might want to use for your writing productivity, and we hope you can see why we think writing groups is the way to go.
So we've just shown you the research on the scholarly productivity associated with joining a writing group. Now let's take a look at what SU faculty have said about their work with a writing group. My group has really helped me keep to my deadlines and figure out what is doable in about 2 weeks, and it's made a huge difference. My group definitely kept me on task, made me define my goals, and much of the time, even meet them. My group helped me with morale. And finally, without those gentle external nudges, it would be too easy to let all of my other work take priority. So thank you for your time in watching this video and going through this introduction on the rationale and research behind writing groups. If you are now interested in joining a writing group, feel free to complete the registration form on our Faculty Writing Groups webpage. And if you've already registered, awesome, great. If you have any questions, please jot them down and bring them to your first meeting with your writing group. We look forward to seeing you at your launch conversation.